is that put the children to sleep, boil the pot, so the children think that some food is cooking and they'll go to sleep. And then we'll turn out the lights and we'll bring this food to the man, and both of us will sit with him and we'll pretend as if we're eating, and we'll let the man eat. This is the sense of support and sacrifice that comes in a Muslim community, and how it's different. You see how this is different from that feeling of everybody's out for themselves? Everybody for themselves. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. This is what you hear. That individualistic attitude. A Muslim community is different. So, they fed the man. In the morning they went for Fajr. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, after Fajr, he tells the man, لَقَدْ عَجِبَ اللَّهُ مِنْ فِعَالِكُمَا. And another narration, قَدْ ضَحِكَ اللَّهُ مِنْ فِعَالِكُمَا الْبَارِحَةِ. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to them, Allah is laughing, meaning that He is pleased with what you guys did last night. I mean, imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laughing. You know, of course, not like we laugh. Allah's laughter is different. You know, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing like Allah. Right? This is part of our belief. You know, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. But imagine that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was pleased with this. This is the sacrifice that is different in a Muslim community. This is what makes a Muslim community different. A Muslim community is very tolerant. It tolerates the pluralistic faiths, all the other faiths. For centuries, you know, the Christians and the Jews have been living among the Muslims, and they've been free to practice their faith. And again, there are many other qualities of a Muslim community. I mention these things, brothers and sisters, to say that these are some of the salient qualities of a Muslim community. And all of us need to participate in doing this. It's not going to happen just by the Imam or the Sheikh or the President of the Board or people, because everybody says, okay, well, are you participating in building the community? Well, the Imam is taking care of that. Or, the Sheikh is taking care of that. Or the President of the Board, that's his responsibility. Why did we elect him? We elected him, so we'll do this. No, it has to be the effort of everyone. And if we understand that this is the type of community, this is the type of society that we're looking for, brothers and sisters, this is the solution to America's problems. This is the solution to America's problems. If we can, now moving more into the practical realm, if we can establish a community as the Sahaba did with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on their model, this is the answer to America's problems. We, as American Muslims, can help this nation come out of the problems that it is facing. There's more than a $10 trillion debt. The national debt is more than $10 trillion. And it's going to go up to 20 trillion very soon. This whole healthcare mess, families breaking apart, children outside of wedlock, drugs, alcohol, you name it, the banking crisis, and how 1% of the population owns the wealth of 99% of the nation. That means that the 99% of this nation enjoys just 1% of the wealth of this country. Think about it. Think about it. The racism that is rampant in this country. All these problems, Islam, having a Muslim community, can solve. If we can build a community such as this, we can stop talking. People can just see it and behold it and be convinced that this is the way. You see, when people behold a community such as this, it's worth 1,000 lectures, it's worth 1,000 books. You know, as they say here in America, right? Seeing is believing. Right? Seeing is believing. And if we want to give da'wah, we have to understand the mentality of the environment that we're in. It's a materialistic environment. So saying is believing. You know, when you go to buy a car, you ask them, okay, let me test drive this. Right? Sometimes when you go to these restaurants, they will give you something to taste, you know, your food. If you want to see a computer demo, if you want to buy a computer, you first go and see the demo to see if it works right or not. You know, all the companies, for example, if you're trying a certain software program, they say, okay, look, you can try this for a month for free. Right? You try out things. Because once you see it, that it works, you will say, okay, I'm a believer. The same thing with the Islamic community. If we can produce a community, and we can, believe me, we can do it, we have to have faith. We have to know and believe that what Allah and His Prophet have said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it can be done. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The final triumph is for the believers, for the God-fearing. So, brothers and sisters, on the practical level, if we have communities such as this, what is this community to be like? Those are some of the characteristics that I mentioned. On a practical level, first of all, we need to govern the community according to the laws of the Sharia, according to the laws of Islam. The second thing is, we need to have a strong educational structure. Strong educational structure. The halaqas in the masjid, they're very good. But it has to now go to the children. More than Sunday school. We have to have an Islamic school. We have to have an Islamic school. You know, one of the British generals, he stood in front of Churchill, you know, in England. He used to be their lead person, their prime minister, I guess. Churchill was asking, how do we put down the Muslims? You know, how do we defeat the Muslims? So this British general, he stands up in front of him. He said, look, you will never destroy the Muslims until you take care of three things. The Quran, Salat al-Jumu'ah, and Islamic schools. If you can destroy these three things, you'll defeat the Muslims. Now, you know, as far as the Quran, they've tried very hard to divorce the Muslim from the Quran. They tried very hard. That's why they've tried to corrupt the Arabic language. You know, even if you go and try to learn the Arabic language, they will tell you classical versus modern. You know the word that they use for classical, that they're translating classical, which is a wrong translation, is what? Fusha. They say Fusha means classical. That's a wrong translation. You know, Fusha means, you know, when somebody says somebody is fasih, that means sahih. Fasih means something that is correct. And modern Arabic is wrong Arabic. So really, the real issue is it's not classical versus modern. It's right versus wrong Arabic. That's the real deal. But the reason they say classic versus modern is because they want to have that antiquated. They don't want people to learn that classic stuff. And the minute they do that, then you don't know what's in the Quran. You don't know what's in the Hadith. Because you're not learning that Arabic. You're learning the modern, corrupted, wrong Arabic. And that's why you find, even if you go to some of the Arab countries, and those of you who are from the Arab countries, you know what I'm talking about. That even in the printed media, they've begun to introduce slang to corrupt the language. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. That's the Quran. Salat al-Jumu'ah, you know how difficult it is living here in this country to make Salat al-Jumu'ah? Sometimes people lose their jobs on that basis. The third thing is Islamic schooling. Very tough. Very tough. A lot of us are convinced that the public schools is the way.